What's up, guys? Sci-Fi Guy 2094 here. Today I have a really good movie to review. I'm going to be talking about The Last Voyage of the Demeter. So this is the collector's edition. It's got a Blu-ray, DVD, and a digital code. This code has already been redeemed, so don't try to redeem it. It won't work. But anyway, we got a DVD and we got a Blu-ray. So I want to talk about this real quick. Now, this is from Bram Stoker's novel Dracula, and it's taken basically just from one chapter. So this whole movie is comprised of just one chapter from the novel, which is literally the voyage where Dracula is on the ship and he's going to England. Now, of course, unbeknownst to the crew of the ship, they are transporting this devilish character, this devilish evil entity. So the first time they actually find out something isn't right on this ship, the livestock, pardon me, basically the livestock are all dead. The blood has been drained, and the crew is just like, they're dumbfounded. They're like, they don't know how this is even possible. What type of beast or, entity could do this. So they basically devise a plan to kill Dracula because there's like this Eastern European girl, and she kind of knows what this creature is, based on the signs of the sucking of the blood, and she realizes that it's Dracula. Okay, so they devise a plan to kill Dracula. The only problem is he's getting stronger each time he feeds. He starts out as a really skinny, scrawny, weird-looking thing, and he keeps feeding, and he's getting stronger. There's a really sad scene that happens when the little boy who's on the ship, he gets bitten. Unfortunately, he gets turned into a vampire, and they have to kill him. So that kind of sucked. But everybody is trying to work together, and they're trying to kill this thing. I just want to say one thing. Look how monstrous this guy is. I love seeing Dracula portrayed like this, because usually we see him as like a nobleman. He's high class. He's very proper. He's got this suave characteristic to him. None of that is this Dracula. I mean, this Dracula he's like a demon. We forget how evil Dracula is because we see him in his human form a lot, where he's, all proper. If you've seen the one where Christopher Lee plays Dracula, I think that's the one most people are familiar with. Or if you've seen Gary Oldman portray Dracula, which, those are pretty iconic portrayals of the character. But I like that they're actually turning this guy into a monster again, because let's face it, this is one of Universal's monsters, with the Mummy, Frankenstein, Creature of the Black Lagoon, the Invisible Man, Wolfman. He is a monster like those other ones. Well, I don't know about the Invisible Man if he's a monster, but I just like how they actually made this a fearsome, demonic, evil creature in this movie. But anyway, like I said, the people on the ship try to come up with a plan to kill him because they do not want this creature to make it to land, because they know he will just ravage England and he will just bring an evil that has never been seen in this world before. So unfortunately, they are not able to kill Dracula, and he makes it to England. at the very end of the movie. And, we see Clemens. He's like the doctor guy. We see him in a bar, and he sees like a shadowy figure over in the corner. He realizes Dracula is there, but just as he sees him, he vanishes. Clemens makes it his duty and his mission to hunt down and kill Dracula. So the only thing I would say I would have changed about this movie, I would have had that be Van Helsing instead of Clemens. Instead of just like this random doctor guy, I would have had that be Van Helsing, right? And you can make Van Helsing kind of young, and he's on the ship, and he sees the crew and everybody get killed by Dracula, and that kind of gives him this this hatred for Dracula, and he wants to take revenge on Dracula. So I'm not sure why they didn't make a young Van Helsing on the Demeter, because that would give him the motive as to why. That would explain the history of Van Helsing, the great monster hunter, the great vampire hunter. It would give context as to why he hunts vampires and all the stories that we see him in. So that's one thing I would change. Overall, I think the movie's good. The atmosphere is great. A lot of dark scenes because, again, they're on a ship, as if being on the ocean isn't just isolating enough. Just the open water. You have a lot of night scenes, which, it increases that dread and terror of the unknown. You're on a ship. All you see is water, and then it's dark. There's nowhere to go. So that actually increased the fear factor in this movie up quite a bit. I really liked this movie. So good story, great visuals. The ship is real. They built a real ship. So practical effects, great makeup with Dracula. A lot of practical effects with the makeup and the costume for Dracula as well. So this is a good movie. If you have not seen Last Voyage of the Demeter, you need to check this one out. It is definitely a very good horror movie, a good vampire movie, and a good Dracula movie. I would give The Last Voyage of the Demeter a good 8 out of 10.